What's going on, everyone? It's Sean from All Things EV, and I've got my friend and expert professional, Sandy Munro from Monroe and Associates in Michigan. Thank you so much for having me, or thank you so much for coming on. I can get that out of my mouth. Thanks so much for coming on.
You better get a retake. That's got to be. Yeah. You should just start with that.
Doesn't have to be perfect, right?
That's great. Well, there you are. No, I think it's better if it's like that. I like shit that doesn't go well right at the bat. So, I mean, if it looks too good, then everybody figures you're faking it or reading from somewhere. So, cheers. That's good. Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. Appreciate your time. It's been a little while. In fact, I know we did one earlier this year, but it was about a year ago that I sat down with you, and that was actually what prompted me to ask you back on. It's been a year. Would love to sort of circle back around on everything that's happened in the last year, get your opinions, and of course, you've been going really, really headfirst into Tesla's 4680 cells and battery pack, and so I'd love to get your opinion on that, as well as some other stuff that people submitted on Twitter. So what has changed for you in the last 6 months? Anything interesting and exciting?
Apart from the COVID-19 stuff, again, let's skip that. Let's not skip all the bad news. But the good news is that Monroe and Associates managed to stay alive, and that was the big thing. We were doing everything we possibly could to try and figure out a way to keep alive with all our customers basically locking their doors and walking away. So the Model Y came at a great time in March, and we used that to our full advantage. People took great big chunks of the car home with them. Sometimes it was delivered if they didn't have a truck or a van or something. And we took everything, my guys took it apart at home. Everybody here has tools, but then they have their tools at home, and did their analysis away from the factory. The Model Y went swimmingly well, and because of that, we started advocating, our services to people who are struggling, and that paid off dividends big time. Not that we were expecting it, but we wound up with contracts for a bunch of three-wheeled companies, three-wheel vehicles, and I'm sure you know, all of them. So some of them we've got NDAs with, some of them we don't. Some of them want us to promote them. Some of us want to hold back, but I think that everybody knows Archimoto. That was the first one, and that worked out really well for them. And then we have two other three-wheel companies who start with A, so you can figure that one out. And then we've got Nobay and maybe potentially another one called Bricklin. But what we're trying to do is see what we can come up with for a three-wheel package, so that they get a skateboard and then they can put whatever they want on top of it. And that's what we're working on right now. So between that and then a tremendous amount of stuff that we never dreamt we were going to get involved with, Department of Defense things where I can't talk too much. We used to have a lot of DoD work, but that all went away, and now it's come back in spades. So that, and then things that we're working on, projects we can't talk about, but they're from the most bizarre, the most bizarre industries. It's just been everything you could imagine and more. Certainly, it was just divine, I guess, is the only way to put it.
It's really great to hear. How much of this would you attribute to your efforts on YouTube and the exposure that has created?
I would say that. So the DoD work probably zero, but some of these three-wheel vehicles, they would have never known about us if we wouldn't have been on YouTube. And YouTube has been very good to us. I don't know if you heard, but we hit 100,000 viewers, millions of people watching this. I can't hardly believe it. it's just astounding to me. I am humbled by the amount of interest that came as a result of YouTube. And I intend to do lots more of that next year.
Good. I think it's a great idea. I don't know if you remember our conversation. I think it was via email, and I'd be curious to dig it up. But I recommended, this is one idea that I recommended to you to get some of these thoughts and ideas out on video and on the internet. And I'll take just a little sliver of credit for that one if I can dig up the email. But I'm glad it's working out so well.
Yeah, I don't take a sliver, take a full slice. But you know, prior to Corey Steuben coming on and basically making this all happen, initially anyway. Now there's a troop of people. Tyler sitting across from me, and but before that, when we did the Model 3, I thought maybe we should take a few videos. My son, who's our marketing guy, Alistair, he was big on this. He really thought it was a great idea, but the engineers in all the rest of us thought, who's going to watch that? That's going to waste our time. And they were wrong. We were wrong. All the engineers here were wrong. Corey was the one who made everything happen. And I do remember you saying, you know, you should get on YouTube. And that was when we were still talking about the Model 3, when you came down to look at the parts of the Model 3. And you said, why aren't you doing YouTube? But you skipped that. That's where, you know, you become a delicate kind of guy. You should do YouTube, stupid. That's the way it should have been. But then I might have caught on. I need to be hit on the head with a brick and sometimes to make things happen. So
I believe I call it the gateway drug to generating more business for you, more contracts. All right, so let's transition here, because there's a couple of topics that I saw people really curious about when I asked people feedback on what we should discuss. Number one, of course, was the 4680s. You've done a lot of videos on that. I would encourage everyone who's watching this to go over to your YouTube channel and check out the plethora, just deep dives. So I want to talk about that, and I'd also like to make sure we talk about, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Starship, their most recent test. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that, knowing your background in aerospace. So 4680s, of all the sort of research and time that you spent into mocking this battery pack, what are some of your largest takeaways?
the largest takeaway, I'd say right from the get-go, this is going to be a lighter product. It's going to give them much more range. I think that the extra range is going to even be more dramatic, because they're going to be putting in a new system, I believe, using heat pumps and using the octo valve, and that's going to give them better economy as far as heating and cooling is concerned for the vehicle. I think that this is a tremendous breakthrough. Now, just diverging a little bit, I also think that I will tell you, and I've said this before, and in the very kindest of way, Elon Musk lies a lot. He tells lies. He always understates, and then he over-delivers. And I love that, because that is our mantra at Monroe. Understate and over-deliver. And that's what he's done. So I think he talked about the tabless battery and stuff like that, and that's all interesting. But the thing that's really dramatic to me is the new chemistry, where in the 2170s, they pretty much eliminated cobalt. They're saying it's an 811. I'm going to get some of this stuff, so I'll find out for sure, but they say it's an 811, which basically means the one is none. And they've added quite a bit more nickel to make up for the differential, to make that all happen. I think that's why he was looking for a nickel mine to buy. So I think that what we're looking at here is pretty much a very dramatic way of making something different into the marketplace. So I think he's going to get economy of scale, because the battery is going to be easier to produce. I'd rather make one big one than 5 small ones, and that's going to be a big deal. I'm going to get rid of all that steel that's around the outside edges. I'm going to be able to wick out that heat faster because the bottom plate's, bigger in diameter. There's so many things that I like about that. In fact, I will tell you that we were trying to find someone that would make us a battery. And basically what I wanted was 50 by 80, okay? And 50 by 80 for me would have been just absolutely perfect. I liked the idea. It would have fit into my plan real well. But we started running into roadblocks because it was a little too close to the 4680, and so nobody wanted to talk to us about that. So now, maybe we can see something sparking up again. But the problem is that the battery chemistry on the 2180 the 4680 is probably going to be similar to the 2170, which means that's going to give it an even bigger increase. So even if somebody brought out another 4680, it's not going to be the same because he's found some new chemistry for going along inside. There's lots of stuff that I'm very excited about with that new product.
I'd love to get your just brief comments on the significance of the tabless design there. When you saw them talk about that at Battery Day, was that something you were expecting, and how significant is that for Tesla to design this?
Makes it easier for production. I don't really that really didn't make me all excited. I want to know about chemistry, and I want to know how you're going to wick away heat. Those are the two things that I'm the most concerned about. And I also want to see what sort of innovation you've come up with that's going to make it so that that battery is going to be optimal. That battery pack is going to have to compete very soon with some of these solid state batteries that are coming out. So QuantumScape, I think you probably know about that. Anyway, QuantumScape is something that I think I want to look at a lot. We have deep interest in that, and I think that's going to be something that's really worthwhile. But I think that Volkswagen is going to pretty much dominate that area because they own a tremendous amount of it. I'm not sure whether it's 50-50 or what. I don't know what the deal is, but I know that VW is trying to change its image, and they want to be eventually number one, but they want to be number two right now. And I believe they're the only. In fact, you saw that a long time ago when I brought out that thing, Who Can Make Money? The only guys that I thought could do it would be VW. The rest of them were just dragging their feet or laughing up their sleeves about, these funny guys fooling around with EVs and whatnot. Yeah, they made a huge mistake.
My one thought about this, though, every time the solid state thing comes up, because every once in a while it starts to hit the news cycle every, 12 months, everyone that I've talked to, including you and Mark, and as well as others who are deep into batteries and battery technology, is that solid state is not a near-term technology. We won't see this for another 5 to 10 years. Is that how you feel too?
No, 2 years. I think in 2 years we'll have it. The big problem is not so much that. Okay, so let me set the stage. We had a lady professor come in here and give us a razzle dazzle about her solid state battery, and it took us about 15 minutes to figure out that she was basically lying. And so I do what I always do when I don't want to be in a meeting. I reach into my pocket, and I don't have it with me, but I pull out my cell phone. Oh, I got to take this call, and I get the hell out because I don't want to embarrass these folks, but I'm not stupid enough to sit around and listen to this. And Mark and I did it at the same time. It was dueling. I got a call. And she caught on after 10 minutes and found her own way out. So I've seen lots of those. I've seen lots of pretenders. But with QuantumScape, that one kind of, I think from what I've seen, what I've heard, and again, I don't want to get into a lot of stuff, but I think that they'll be out in 2 years. Other guys, this is not an easy trick, and it's basically like trying to make a battery out of a bunch of greasy potato chips. Okay, they want to stick together and they break and stuff like. So it's going to take a lot of finessing to make it so that these things can go together. Once that's figured out, I think then we're going to have, it's going to be a piece of cake. And then everybody will be scrambling and nobody will want a battery anymore. They want the solid state because it's a lot lighter and there's no compression needed and on and on and on.
What's the bottleneck currently for solid state? Is it just manufacturing cost and high volume, or are there some technology inhibitors?
Making them at high volume is no piece of cake. You can make them. Everybody's made a couple of them, but making them at a high volume or high enough volume that you could make money at it. That's a trick.
So QuantumScape seems like it's the most promising. Have you heard of Solid Power? They're out of the Denver metro area. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, I have heard, but I don't know enough about their stuff to really dive in. And then there's 2 French companies, a German company. I think it's Korea. I'm not sure, but a Korean company. There's a couple of them that have come close. And they're all seeing who can get done first, but nobody has one that's going to be easy to produce.
I've seen some companies, large and small, talk about the promise of solid state. Fisker saying that they would put it into their Emotion, which it sounds like they're tabling their higher end, high priced Emotion for a later time and focusing on the less expensive. I've also seen Toyota talk about solid state, and they've got something in the near term. But nothing has really materialized in terms of commercial high volume production. So I'm excited. If you're looking at QuantumScape, then I think there's something to pay attention to there.
Yeah, I do too. Somebody threw them under the bus. I can't remember which one of the geniuses in New York, but one of them said that, this is just a bag of smoke or something like that, and there's stock immediately went to the moon. So it's like the analysts are really. I don't know if anybody is taking these guys serious anymore, but certainly I don't.
My just sort of armchair opinion about them is that many of them seem to have missed the boat in terms of the pivot and how to look at companies like Tesla and the companies tied to electrification of vehicles. So I think there are some that have figured it out.
They all own GM stock, and they're trying to get their money back or something. I don't know, but at the end of the day, I don't think many of these guys have got a lot of depth. I have talked to them, but I mean now I'm getting. In fact, like I say, right after this, I've got another call that I got to go on, and that's to brokerage houses. They're skipping the analysts and going to experts, or what they think are experts anyways. I just keep it our secret. But yeah, I think that electrification is going to, and I think I said it on your show that I thought that the crossover point for selling EVs over ICE is going to be 2030, and now I think that's too late. I think it should be about 2028, 2025 maybe even. And it's going to go rocket ship fast, and there's a lot of guys that decided to gas or I don't know, have big fancy dinners or something and pat themselves on the back. They made some terrible mistakes that are going to cost their companies a huge amount of money. Anybody that isn't up to their neck in EVs now is pretty much toast.
There was a lot of buildup for, well, a lot is subjective, but regarding the GMC Hummer EV, there was some buildup. They brought on LeBron James to pump it up, and then they did the big reveal, and it was like a 5-minute promotional video of the truck. The price was really interesting in comparison to the range, and especially how it compares to other incumbents. What's your 2 cents on the Hummer EV? Do you think it can be competitive?
Okay, so I'm not sure if you knew, but we canvassed our viewers, and we said we can't afford to buy all 3 trucks. So for sure I'm getting a Cybertruck because 5 of us got one on order. So I'm for sure I'm getting one of those to tear apart. And then I said, I want the audience to tell us, which one would you rather see us do? Would you rather do as the Rivian, or would you rather see us do the Hummer? And 97% went for the Rivian. I don't care about what my point of view is. I only care about what the viewers. If you pay attention to the customers on YouTube, they will reward you, and that's kind of like what I'm trying to do. And so at 97%, it wasn't much of a race. So my view is that the Hummer. We have one guy that owns an old one here, and he's got his fair share of problems. It's the same year as my Jeep, actually, my Wrangler, but he's experienced a lot more problems than I have. And so from that standpoint, I guess I'm not really that thrilled. And then, as you know, during the bank meltdown there, GM was trying to sell the Hummer line, and a Chinese company was going to buy it, but then it didn't, and stuff like that. So I'm not 100% sure what the market value is for the brand, and I don't know enough about it to say pretty much anything. When it comes out, definitely I'll go down and try it out, see what it's like. But I do know. Well, I know exactly what the Rivian is like. I know exactly what that product is like, and that's pretty exciting. One of my other guys, actually in Phoenix, is he's already got his name in and for that truck, and he's giving up a Trailhawk. So
Rivian certainly seems promising. It seems like they've got some substantial backing as well. So that alone is optimistic. Contrast that to Nikola and their pickup truck. It just seems like there's just a lot of chaos behind the scenes with Nikola and half-baked pickup truck. Trying to get GM involved with producing it, and I don't think that's going to materialize. But Rivian certainly, I know them. I know many of them at the company, so take that for what it's worth. But I've had a good chance to talk with them at length about their product, from hardware to software to design approach, and I think that they've of the new companies, of the new startups doing EVs, I think that they're one of the most promising ones and have the best chance of succeeding.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're going to succeed. I think they're going to thrive in that market. And like I said before, I'm not a pickup truck kind of guy. I don't want one, but I am a Cybertruck kind of guy. It has everything that I'm looking for. It's like my Wrangler, but it's got a lot more features. So for me, the Rivian is fun to drive, and I like the look, and I like all the little special things, like the little door with the kitchen, and I like that kind of stuff. But it's not. I don't need a pickup truck. I want what I want, and that's what's great about the car industry. You can get pretty much anything you want, anytime you want. It's going to be a new world here shortly. Next year is going to be a real telling. It's going to be really telling. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be horrified and surprised. I think that next year in the auto industry, hopefully, we're going to see a lot of change in management. Maybe, I hate to, because I'm old, I hate to say just old people should get out of the way, but But at the end of the day, if you're stuck, it doesn't matter whether you're 20 or you're 80. If you're stuck in your ways, you have to move. This is a new world. It's time to move on. And that's what really needs to happen.
We're seeing this increased interest in electric vehicles. I'm excited about Ford's Mach-E. Seems very promising. But one of the things that I keep coming back to is, if everyone's got a hit on their hands, Tesla's got a hit, VW's got a hit, Ford's got a hit. Have you spent much time thinking about the early supply chain? I mean, Tesla spent quite a bit of time on how they're going to dissect that and attack that business case or challenge. Where do you see that in the next 5 years in terms of early supply chain, raw materials, making sure that companies have the right cell supply to build these vehicles?
Okay, so the one thing that Tesla's got going for them is vertical integration. And if you ask anybody from Harvard, they'll tell you, oh, that can't possibly be a good idea. But it is a good idea. If you're into an emerging market and you want to dominate that market, building as much as you can inside is a real good idea. So Tesla is going to have definitely the leg up on everybody else when it comes to supply chain, because it's their own. Toyota, another one that does a lot of stuff internally, but even more than that, guess who? That would be Volkswagen. So if we look at things as who's got the most vertical integration, Tesla is number 1. Volkswagen's number 2, Toyota's number 3, and the rest don't count. Simple. So now let's talk about the supply chain that we know as far as ICE products. We have many tier 1 supply customers, and all of them are looking at what are we going to do when the ICE engines are gone, okay? Now, if you're making seats, who cares? I mean, this means nothing to you, except maybe if you change the voltage or something like that. But at the end of the day, it means nothing. If you have, if you are making transmissions, I don't need a transmission. I got a gearbox. I got 1 gear or 2 gears. That's all I need for electric car. So I don't think those guys. I won't be buying any stock in transmission companies. Now the problem is that engines are usually made by the companies. They look at those as core competency. So all of the major car companies have a lot more engine capacity than they're probably going to need, and it's going to diminish rapidly. So what do you do there? I see giant issues with the UAW, because they're going to want to shut plants like there's no tomorrow, and the UAW is going to say, hey, wait a minute, don't do that. Our union people are going to be thrown onto the street. If they can do it in Germany, where the rules are really tough, I'm pretty sure they're going to be able to do it here as well. But it's going to be really nasty for engine plants, really nasty.
Can any of them pivot? I mean, to go from combustion engine to electric motor, or do you see any of them surviving by pivoting?
Well, Diess is doing it, right? The guy in Germany, or Diess, or however you want to say it, the CEO and president of Volkswagen, he seems to be pivoting. Now, he's run into lots of troubles. I mean, I don't know if you read about it, but he's got serious issues with the union, and the union is about, 50% of the board. Basically, it's just 2 families and the union that are going to thrash it out. And the union doesn't like him a whole lot, but at the end of the day, this is the guy that's going to be turning Volkswagen around. Most of the other people that are running big companies, nobody even knows who they are. I mean, and the reason for that is because they just don't want to. They don't want anybody to know who they are, because they want to stay quiet and hidden from view and things like that. They're not an Elon Musk, and that's where the issue is going to lie. Turning on a dime, you got to have a lot of, not just not just a big title and a big paycheck. You got to have a lot of chutzpah to make that work. That's for sure. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know. I know it can be done. I watched when I was at Ford. I watched Philip Caldwell and what was his name? Don Peterson or whatever. I watched those two guys turn Ford around from dirt to gold, and that was really quick. And Red Poling, those guys though, they were very strong individuals, and people did what they were told or they got sacked. Harsh is not in the vocabulary now. It's like I talk to most people in the auto OEM world, and it's like I'm on a Barney show. Is that, wait a minute, what's the name of that blue dinosaur or something? Was it Barney? Yeah. I don't care for Barney type of leadership. Hi, kiddies. You know, I love you. Nobody loves anybody. This is the auto industry, and it's if everybody's loving everybody else, it means that nothing's getting done. So there's a lot of folks there that are going to be they're going to have to take a new line on things, or maybe they have to be shoved out of the way and somebody else go in that's going to have a hard line. Because this is a tough situation. This is not business as usual. So,
last time we talked, we discussed the Cybertruck, I believe. Now that we know that Tesla is going to be manufacturing this truck in Texas, close to where they're building the Starship, do you have any additional thoughts on manufacturing of this steel? Any symbiosis between SpaceX and Tesla now that they're probably 4 or 5 hours drive from where they're manufacturing both the Starship as well as the truck?
I don't think from a manufacturing standpoint, I don't think there's much in common there at all. But when it comes to design or engineering, yeah, there's going to be a ton of things that they're going to be able to take off of the guys that are designing those spaceships. I've mentioned this about a bazillion times. I'm very, very impressed with the octopump and the octovalve and the heat pump, and that's a shining example of a non-automotive design. Okay, it's made very, very tight in tight precedents, like a very tight a package to get the job done, and there's math there that's used that we would just not bother. If you compare it to different vehicles, you'll see that the other guys are using a separate radiator, or they're doing they PTC heaters or something like that. Something that's easy. You just buy this and you buy that and you glue it together and call it a day. Not many people are creating anything that looks quite like the heating and cooling system that Tesla had designed, and I'm positive that was not designed at Tesla. That was designed at their SpaceX group. Yeah.
Any lift in terms of materials cost of the body of the vehicle and body of the Starship? I mean, if this is not a common thing to produce an automotive vehicle with this material, costs might be high. Do you have any thoughts on that? And that was my original thought with the symbiosis between SpaceX and Tesla, is if they can find a way to buy bulk material, then it could potentially be a cost reduction.
I think that they're going to be buying plenty of material. I think that the stainless steel and whatnot is very simple lines, so it makes it simple to build. So I don't think there's going to be any problem for them as far as stainless steel is concerned or whatever. And they've already tipped their hat on the, and I talked a lot about this as well, the whole base of the thing is 3 castings, just like that cast system I showed you on our factory floor. We had that thing for 10 years sitting out there. Nobody would touch it. No. Oh, Sandy, I think you've lost your mind. Really? Now what do you think? Now everybody's, hey, you know, have you heard about this cast? Jeez. Anyway, so I think that makes a big difference. So that's basically going to get rid of a third or more of the body shop. And they're not good at body shops. So now they're going to be the best in the world at fooling around with. And I found out through the grapevine that they bought 11 more of those casting machines. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of casting machines. And they're looking at it as the bargain of the century. Rather than buying a stamping line or what have you, you buy these things and just change the dies for pushing out whatever part you want. So I think all in all, they're going to have a very low cost as far as the body is concerned.
Great. We'll go ahead and wrap up here, but I'd love to just give you an open-ended question here to close things up. Who, as an automotive / EV enthusiast who's watching this video, what companies should we be keeping an eye out for? I know you're an advisor to some, obviously because you see some promise in them. Advisor or not, who do we need to keep an eye on here in the next 6 to 12 months?
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to tell you is that I think that once we've got people driving around in three-wheel vehicles, I think small is going to be very big. And I gave a speech, you know, the next big thing is small for a group of investors in the Far East. And I think that, yeah, we are working with some companies and their names are popping up on our YouTube channels, or they've made an announcement saying that they're getting Monroe to help them with engineering and whatnot. So that's, okay, they're out there. For me, I've never considered having two cars. I could never really figure out why I'd want to do that. But I can tell you that once we get the no bay up and running, and we can make that, they have a very, very cutesy convertible, and you can have a look at it. It's called the Lillian. And once that's up and running, I will buy one of those. That's a fact. So if you want to know what EV I'm going to get, probably I'm going to get a Cybertruck, and probably I'm going to get a no bay EV. So why would I want that little? Because you know what? I like to have fun every once in a while, and putting the top down and whatnot when it's nice around here in Michigan in the summertime. I used to have lots of sports cars, and to me that was a great fun, and that's what I want. I want something that's fun in my life. So that's one. Archimoto and the other two, the other two car companies with an A that I don't know whether I can talk about, but all of those, every one of them has got a unique flavor, and they've got a different value proposition, and all of them are looking for money. No Bay's looking for money. Archimoto's looking for money. I mean, they're the Teslas of the not too distant future. So if you're looking to invest, then that might be something. If you're looking again at who can possibly take on Tesla, my number one guess is Volkswagen, because they've got a president and a chairman who's willing to stand up to the ruling powers and say, hey, we got to move in this direction and we got to move fast. I think that's number one. And they've got their tentacles into lots of different battery companies, and also QuantumScape, the group with the solid state battery. After that, okay, so I know this may sound like heresy or something, but I would like to find somebody who's going to fund us to take apart the new Mirai. I really think that hydrogen is sitting out there. I mean, I watch the guys in Australia who can make hydrogen cheap and then store it in what looks like a brick. I'm telling you, if we can make that happen, that's the way to go. Okay, and then the last thing from an EV standpoint, I think that vertical takeoff machines, VTOLs are. If I lived in California, I wouldn't drive a car. No way in, especially if I'm in Los Angeles or Los Angeles County. No way. I have zero patience. I got stuck on Ventura Highway. 4 hours to make a half-hour trip to the airport, and I missed my plane. There's no way. That's ridiculous. Hey, I got an idea. Let's find the narrowest passage we can find. We'll put an expressway in it, and then let people break down because the sun pelting down on it. If you got an old car, it's going to die, and it's going to die badly. So I think VTOLs is the other way to go. And when we start looking at VTOLs, weight's really important. And what would be lighter would be hydrogen power, so fuel cells. So those are the things there's my predictions for 2021. I think you're going to see a jump in all that stuff. Anything that has to do with any of those little cars or VW or Toyota or fuel cells and VTOLs. That's where the future is.
Great insight. Good to have you on. I know you've got to get to a meeting here, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. But thanks for the chat. Good to hear from you again. And everyone probably knows you've got a YouTube channel, you've got a website. I'll make sure and link those in the video description. Anything else you want to pass along to the viewers before we close up?
Yes, I think we have the same viewers in a lot of cases. So we're going to be shooting the Sandy Claus episode this week, and we'll be shipping everything out. Actually, we even got another guy that is going to be shipping us parts from Tesla parts that I don't know where he got them from, but he's got them, and he said, "Hey, I'm a fan. I got these parts. I'm going to ship them to you, and you can send them out as well." So we're going to be sending out a lot of stuff this year. A lot of stuff for Christmas. Yeah. Good
to hear. Well, looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that. Sandy, thanks again for coming on, and talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean. Have a great week. Actually, have a great holiday. Christmas or whatever. Yeah.
Happy holidays.